Welcome back to Ravens Today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda, giving you all the latest updates on anything and all things Ravens. Please make sure to tune into the channel, subscribe, like the video. Let's dive into the latest. Big press conference yesterday with all of the Ravens' new hires. Some of them were returning, some of them brand new. As we all know, Jesse Minter was, the new hire and introduced his entire coaching staff. Declan Doyle, Anthony Weaver returning, Anthony Levine Sr., all these guys were able to speak with the media and talk with their vision for their respective part of the Ravens. So, first up, let's talk about what Declan Doyle had to say. Mind you, I am very high on Declan Doyle. I really believe that he is going to completely change this offense into a complete powerhouse. Something that we saw on the Chicago Bears when he was the offensive coordinator there. And now that he's, the offensive coordinator of a team that has, in my opinion, a lot more talent, he's just going to have a lot more fun with it. But here's one thing that stood out to me, were that when he was asked about what he expects to happen at OTAs in a couple of months, he said OTAs are still voluntary. These are the changes that he wants to see. But he wants the veterans to be able to show up. I believe that he wants the veterans to show up because he wants them to be ready beforehand. He doesn't want them to show up in the middle of the summer when the rookies have had their go and the voluntary camps have come and gone and the veterans come back and they, are not used to the coaching system and they have less than 2 months to figure it out. So he mentioned that he wants OTAs to still be voluntary, but he encourages the veterans to be there. My take on this is that he specifically said, you guys need to be here. This is a new coaching staff. This isn't something you're going to be used to, so we got to nail it down, sooner rather than later, which I am 100% on board with. Because if you have a team that's still trying to figure out its offense before the regular season comes in, that's not good. You need to, you have an entirely new coaching staff, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, everything. You need to be able to be in sync with the offensive coordinator's vision of the offense way sooner than in the middle of the season at some point where you guys start clicking. You need to do it in OTAs. You need to start, do it during the training camp. You need to do it during the preseason, so that way you can get ready for the regular season at full 100%, in sync and just ready to go. Like we are just hitting the ground running. Which this change, which is the most important to me, where it's not necessarily a change, but he's also very much saying, yeah, we want you there. You're still technically it's still a technical optional thing for you guys. But again, you guys won't have as much time to be able to learn what my vision is unless you go to OTAs, which I'm all for. Get the guys to OTAs as much as possible because we need everyone here to really understand what the vision is for the Ravens way sooner rather than, again, middle of the season at some point when we're 3-4 and finally we go on a run. No. We need to be 7-0 by that point. I mean, that's the dream, right? But also he had mentioned that he wanted to also change Lamar from a scrambler QB to more of an improviser. Guys like, Russell Wilson when he in his prime, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, where he wants Lamar to be less on the run and more, an out-of-pocket quarterback. Mind you, he's still going to use the talent that Lamar has, which is his legs. But he also is aware that Lamar Jackson is a quarterback. He spent over an hour on a Zoom call with him, giving him that vision. They said they've talked multiple times, and he said that Lamar was very adamant on what he wanted for the Ravens, and that he really felt like Doyle could answer that for him. So again, being an improviser quarterback, love that. Give Lamar like time to throw out of the pocket, but not take off running, which is fine with me. Lamar can still run with as fast as he can, but again, quarterback. Gotta find, those areas where he can just throw the ball. It makes him more dangerous when teams are hesitant to go and get him because he's still fast, but he's also throwing. We've seen glimpses of that. Like, especially when, Lamar has used his legs less and less. But then when he's in the pocket, he's with our offensive line, he got sacked way too many times, caused injuries. But imagine if Lamar was consistent in being able to get outside the pocket, but make defenses hesitate to where he could still run the ball, but also they're like, well, is he going to run or throw? Because when you overutilize a quarterback's talent like that, like Lamar's, I'm not saying it becomes predictable, but they know what to expect. Now, Doyle's vision is to make Lamar Jackson unpredictable, which makes him 10 times more dangerous, by the way. Moving from a scrambler to an improviser, where he's able to extend the play no matter what the case is. Ooh, just think about that, where it just becomes much more dangerous for opposing defenses to be able to understand what Lamar Jackson is going to do. It just becomes way more unpredictable. Makes it more fun for us Ravens fans, obviously. But there's also Anthony Weaver, who put it pretty bluntly that the Ravens defense has not been feared for a little while. Was feared way back in the early 2000s. Was feared again when he and Mike McDonald were on the coaching staff back in 2023. But then he left, and then to go to the Dolphins, and then Mike McDonald went to the Seahawks, won a Super Bowl. Anthony Weaver said that we need to bring that mentality back. The Ravens need to have a feared defense again. What else can you ask? Last season, it was bend, don't break. Defense made some clutch plays, but it wasn't until some adjustments were made in the middle of the season. Anthony Weaver actually has some experience under center as a defensive coordinator. He also has experience being a former Raven, player and coach. He wants to bring back the Ravens defense that was once feared. We had that under Mike McDonald. Mike McDonald had it with Seahawks and won a Super Bowl because of that defense. Anthony Weaver is saying that he's going to bring back fear of playing against a Ravens defense. It's just awesome to hear because we've been waiting to hear this for a little while now. It's just under Zach Orr, it just wasn't. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Actually, it wasn't. It was mediocre. It was crippled. That's the best way to put it. Is mind you, we did make some good stops, some good clutch moments, but it wasn't feared like we're so used to being. And finally, we have a coach that says, "Yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to, be feared again." Love this. But on the last part here, Anthony Levine said that the reason why he came back is not because of the being feared. Not because of the offense, because he's on the special teams coach. He said the Ravens' strength isn't that. It is because of our culture. Because the culture of the Ravens just makes, as a player and as a coach, there's something there that makes you want to remain a Raven for life. Mind you, at the end of the day, NFL is a business. But the Ravens' strength is their culture. Being around the guys. It's not around the coaching staff. It's not just a coach and player relationship. It is a close relationship where guys are able to go up and, air their opinion out to the coaching staff. Which, in my opinion, mind you, it may have been said that this was still a thing under Harbaugh, but at the end of the day, it's we have a new coaching staff who's willing to take any player opinion and take it seriously. I think that the Ravens, like, they did air their grievances with whatever Harbaugh had or whatever they had with Harbaugh, but it wasn't enough because Harbaugh's been there for a long time. So now our strength is our culture. The guys are able to bond and be able to bond with the coaching staff in a much better light now that we are completely flipping the script. This is why he came back, because he's like, yeah, you can't erase a culture like this. It'll remain here. This is why guys come back, and this is why players love to be on a Ravens team. It's just, that is our strength. Imagine if we brought in like guys like Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. I'm just naming off defensive players who would want to be on the Ravens team and stay there, because it's like, hey, I'd rather take less money because the culture here is just so much better than what I am used to. But obviously, at the end of the day, NFL is a business, but we have that. We have that culture there that players do want and coaches do want. Thank you for tuning in to Ravens Today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda. Again, subscribe to the channel, like the video. I will catch you all later.